Getting something done, finishing a project, and achieving a certain goal all demand a great amount of focus and energy. I sometimes find myself torn between focusing on my personal goals and assisting others who ask for my help. While I won't describe myself as someone with a compulsive urge to help others, I do have compassion for their challenges and usually listen if someone I know asks for my support. However, this may lead to putting my own ambitions temporarily aside, and such seemingly noble deeds can quickly add up and consume a huge chunk of focus and energy. While helping others definitely provides me with some sort of happiness, it can also leave me behind with a quiet sense of sadness. A sadness that I'm actually not focusing enough on my own projects, that I'm not fulfilling my own potential, and that my ambitions may never become real, but will forever remain a blurry fantasy. It's a painful dilemma, and this video is about finding a psychological path to overcome it, so that we finally unshackle our focus and productivity to do what is necessary for getting things done. This path leads us to Friedrich Nietzsche's highly controversial conception of compassion and Carl Jung's insights about utilizing the dark parts of our psyche. There we may find an answer that is probably not for the liking of everyone, but it is exactly there where great wisdom might be lurking. If you have a suffering friend, be not a resting place for his suffering, but a hard bed, as it were, a field cot. This is clearly not how society expects a good human being to behave, as we are taught from a very young age about the moral importance of helping others. But are such acts of kindness and compassion always as good as they are perceived initially? And could such noble deeds actually cause great harm not only to yourself, but also to the person you are helping? According to Nietzsche, the answer is a resounding yes, and he brilliantly explains why. The truth is, Nietzsche didn't really like the idea of compassion. He thought that by being compassionate and assisting struggling individuals, you're not truly helping, but rather robbing them of a valuable opportunity for personal growth. Because by denying help, you enable the other person to face their dragons, and that would contribute far more to their happiness than merely helping them out of compassion. How denying someone help may contribute to that person's happiness becomes clearer as Nietzsche tells us about the supposed entanglement of happiness and unhappiness. If you experience suffering and displeasure as evil, hateful, and worthy of annihilation, and as a defect of existence, how little you know of human happiness, you comfortable and benevolent people. For happiness and unhappiness are sisters and even twins that either grow up together or, as in your case, remain small together. And Nietzsche also explained why compassion is not only detrimental to the person you are helping, but also to yourself, the compassionate rescuer. It is obvious that the more we can limit distractions and focus on our projects, the more likely are we to actually get something done and experience meaningful progress. This is of particular importance if we consider that the most precious resource of our existence is limited. Our time is ticking away with each second until there is no more left. If we are not careful with how we spend it, we run the risk of eventually looking back with deep regret and resentment on our life and quietly wondering what we could have achieved if we just were a bit more focused instead of always gifting away our time during selfless actions. Nietzsche fittingly wrote, "My kind of compassion, I sense it when I see precious capability squandered, or when I see anyone halted, something less than he might have become." But we cannot easily let go of this urge to sacrifice our time for others whenever they're calling for our help. Aside from the fact that we have been conditioned since a very young age to help others, there's another less obvious reason why we may be engaging in selfless behavior. This one is especially difficult to overcome, as many are not even aware of it. That is the dangerous and tempting possibility of rationalizing the escape from one's own work in order to help someone else. To lose one's own way in order to come to the assistance of the neighbor, all such arousing of compassion and calling for help is secretly seductive, for our own way is too hard and demanding, and we do not really mind escaping from it. What makes it so powerful and difficult to overcome is that it not only offers us an escape from our own work, but also a path that is often regarded as noble and admiring. After all, helping others is usually perceived as the right thing and can make us feel really good about ourselves. Resisting the seductive temptation is what Nietzsche has called the ultimate test and the actual noble virtue, as he wrote, "To keep the eminence of one's task undefiled by the many lower and more myopic impulses that are at work in so-called selfless actions, that is the test, perhaps the ultimate test, which a Zarathustra must pass, is real proof of strength." But how can we do that? Appearing self-centered is often unpopular and even shamed in our society. It doesn't fit with the ideal image of the good-hearted human being that is highly selfless and compassionate. An answer to how we can resist the seductive temptation of helping others and successfully pass this ultimate test may be found within the brilliant depths of Carl Jung's analytical psychology. By always being compassionate and attending to the needs of others, you may also be repressing a certain part of yourself, a part that is the opposite of the wonderful person society and your own moral standards demands you to be. A part of yours that you therefore repress and try to hide at any cost. According to Carl Jung, this part is your shadow, and while it is usually perceived as cruel and sinister, it may be exactly what you need to finally free yourself from this almost compulsive urge of helping others. It is the part of yourself that can enable you to be more assertive and confident when people try to push your boundaries or take advantage of your kindness. Unlocking this part of yourself may enable you to resist the temptation of scattering your attention to help those around you, so that you can continue to focus on your own ambitions, which demand the highest levels of focus. However, before you can integrate your shadow to consciously use its powers, you first have to acknowledge its existence, which already poses a huge struggle for many, as it completely goes against the huge efforts people take to portray an almost perfect image to the outside world. But not acknowledging your own dark side may lead to disastrous consequences, as Jung explains. By not being aware of having a shadow, you declare a part of your personality to be non-existent. Then it enters the kingdom of the non-existent, which swells up and takes on enormous proportions. When you don't acknowledge that you have such qualities, you're simply feeding the devils. The last words of the short quote clearly indicate that if one continues to deny the existence of shadow attributes within themselves, those will only grow stronger and more sinister. Always trying to be good and staying committed to insanely high moral standards may actually breed evil, as Jung highlighted. If one tries beyond one's capacity to be perfect, the shadow descends into hell and becomes the devil. However, denying help and staying focused on your personal goals may elicit an inner conflict, as your moral standards would want to fight off the seemingly cruel nature of your shadow. But it is in precisely these inner battles between opposing forces that the experience of wholeness lies. Jung has called this a therapeutic necessity and reminded his readers that this internal struggle goes on until the opponents run out of breath. Now, this is neither an easy task nor a quick fix, but it can pose a great opportunity for personal growth and provide you with the strength to finally resist the temptation of always helping others while neglecting your own ambitions. Of course, this doesn't mean that one has to engage in extremes and become a totally self-centered person who never cares for others. I think it is in finding the right balance while always evaluating the individual situation at hand. And remember that by denying another person help, you're not only acting out of selfish reasons, but also enabling the other person to face their own struggles and then grow from those challenging experiences. Sometimes we need to deny help to truly show how much we care for others. Sometimes we need to say no to protect our own ambitions and dreams. Sometimes that is what it takes to pass the ultimate test of personal growth.